One thing I learned from our winter camps in Florida is, where's your focus at, athletes ask me. And there's two parts of the swing, the hip rotation, and then there's the following, just enough time to get your hands into place and to drive and snap following the rotation with the hands and the upper body. I had the opportunity at Softball Magazine Spring Training to be an instructor and also to look at some of these great players like Jason Magnum. And every one of them, the first move you see is lowering on the rear leg as you bring sometimes the foot back, but developing a coil, developing all the power into the right hip point. You see Matt Brady doing it here. That's a very much of a major key in learning how to be good. In order to get the hips working good, the hips are the key part of the swing, you have to put 75 or better emphasis on your hips. And we talked to the pros here, and they all agreed with that. 75% of their focus is on the hips, lowering and loading on the rear leg, getting that coil, bringing the hands back, and then exploding with rotation. You have just enough time to get your hands on track. So work on developing 75% of your focus or more on just your hips. And there's a lot of good hitters, the hands will find the way, which I'll show with the following lesson guy that I had that used to be an A player. Here's some of the interviews we had with some of these great Wilson, Louisville, and DeMarini pros at spring training.
I don't care how big you are, you can be the biggest man in the world, strongest man in the world. You can't hit a softball, law of physics, just with all arms.
Yeah.
All your power comes from your waist down. This is right here. All this means nothing. This is just anchors holding the bat.
That's why you see some of these tall, thin guys compete.
Yes.
Because they got the hold.
And they got the leverage. The longer you are, the more leverage you're going to have, and the harder and farther you can hit the ball. That's just
so, Jason, for these guys, don't you think 75%, at least 75% of your focus should be just on the hips in that sequence, too?
That's
right?
it, yes.
What percentage for you at the start? Almost all of it.
Almost all mine. I don't, like I said, this is just anchors. All my power. That's why I hit legs, and I'm always hitting my lower body. This is where all your ass, hips, and legs is where your power comes from. So, you know, I kind of coil up. If you'll see me, it's like a coil. And when I lunge off that back foot, I explode as hard as I can coming forward.
Yeah, just enough time at the end to think about the hands right before impact.
That's it, yep. And the hands, man, I mean, it's like muscle memory, you know.
Yeah, you can't think about it, you have to get it.
But you got to get this started before anything.
That's
when you see that ball coming in, everything starts right here, and it briefly ends with your hands.
Yeah. With the rec guys out here in the show, we're trying to break it down as simple as we can, and we say that 75% of a guy's focus, athlete's focus, ought to be on the lower half of the body, the winding and throwing open the hips. Talk about that. Tell me if you agree or disagree with that and how that relates to your swing.
So I definitely agree with that. Off season, I really work on my lower half, my core, my lower half, because I feel that's where a lot of your power comes from. It's you see a lot of the guys these days, Phil, Matt, myself. It's a very torquey, a very violent swing, and that's, I think, I generate a lot of my power from that.
So you take that power you've generated out of your lower body, and I equate it to kind of a baseball pitcher where you need to wind on the rear hip. You know, you need to create a wind as you're coming ahead and then
right,
throw.
Correct.
You feel like that's a similar motion to a baseball pitcher?
It 100% is. In softball, so in baseball, you're here, and you're quick through the ball, keep the hands in, everything's here. In softball, you generate a lot more power. I gear up, hands, arms, everything is locked out, extended. When I'm making connection with the ball, my arms are basically locked completely out. And when I make contact, my arms, my wrist, everything flips over, and I'm through the zone.
You know, my rotation is super important, and like I said, when I'm in the zone, I want to go for the home run. You know, I load it first, I do my rotation, and I finish with my legs. So my first step is my rotation. If I miss that step and I'm a little bit late, I'm gonna hit that ball on the endo, or I'm gonna hit, you know, in the end cap. So that's the most important part of my swing.
I have kind of a coil-uncoil, and my trigger mechanism is my leg kick. And when I'm going well, when I'm hitting well, when I'm seeing the ball well, and my swing's on, you know, I have that high leg kick to where it, you know, pushes everything back, keeps me closed, keeps the weight on the back on my back leg, and I'm seeing the ball real well and keeping my head still. Then I'm always on the ball, and I'm spinning the ball, and I'm contacting the ball out where I'm supposed to.
And it looks so subtle, but you're actually loading everything kind of in that right hip point.
Absolutely,
with the
to where my backside is rigid.
Yeah.
And
Somebody might say, well, I just lift the leg up. No, your leg is more of a process of the hip winding.
It's pushing everything back to where I got so much power right now to go forward, and then it's just timing. And Bogey, it's the same thing if I'm going to right field too. You know, because I stand off the plate, I'm a good 2 feet off the plate. So that way I got full play coverage. Now I'm a gap-to-gap hitter, so I'm looking for the gaps. I'm looking for the lanes. So it allows me to take that inner half pitch and go to the left field gap, the outer half pitch, go to the right field gap, depending on the situation. So if I'm going to go right field gap, then I'm still going to coil. I'm still going to get that leg kick, but it's just like throwing. If I'm going to go to right center, I'm going to step towards that way. If I'm going to go left center, I'm stepping that way. Just like when you're throwing. So you got your direction already lined out. And it's just a matter of, contacting the ball in the strike zone and finishing your swing.
So let's look at our lesson. It's Jake. He was an AA player. He's now 54, had some injuries. And watch how he goes outside rotation to reach ahead at the end of the swing. His rotation wasn't tight, and that's the only thing that was bringing him some consistency and some lack of power when he needed it. When he gets to the end of the swing here, watch him just extend the arms straight out. And the rotation is really, really slowed down quite a bit as the arms just extend out, and he's getting into the rollover, just not getting a good plane, a good path, and not staying tight in the rotation. And one of his favorite players is Jeremy Yates. And watch how Yates' shoulders and hips turn. His lead arm is bringing that bat around at an arc, and you're getting a little bit of extension outside and some top arm extension. Jake's rotation slows, and he tries to make up for it with top arm extension and just doesn't get on a good plane. And look how that bat just doesn't fall around. Watch how Yates' path falls around him just like a planet circling the sun, like we had in one of the previous episodes. Just phenomenal. And that's the one thing we had to work on Jake. So throwing a ball, he didn't drill it very good, but throwing a ball was a real natural motion. And you can work your timing. That first motion of lowering and then rotating, driving open off the rear leg against the front brace leg and rotating tight. That's just great for getting your timing down with your hips. Not only the power, but just the timing. And we went to work on hitting off the tee, and it was a remarkable difference. Just like throwing a baseball, he felt it a lot differently than he did swinging. Great rotation. Look how he doesn't lunge forward anymore afterwards. Great rotation. Heard the clicker stick there. We hit over the top of the rope. Working the perfect snap drills here, you want to make sure you get the shoulders rotate while you do it and go to the point of impact. Now, I gave him a heavy 4.5 pound jimmer stick because that just absolutely magnifies your mistakes on the tee. And he hit just phenomenally cutting the ball. And the jimmer stick also helps you develop strength and power. And then when you go back to your regular bat, which is the 28-ounce Davis Billardella here, watch the rotation, watch how tight it is, look at the finish. No lunging forward afterwards. Just a great rotation. Absolutely fabulous. And so the focus, 75% of that's got to be, or more, on the hips. And so it's funny with him, with Jake, he had to focus 100% on the hips. Because he's such a great player in the past, he stopped thinking about his hands, just focused on the boom, the lowering, reaching ahead, and then rotating. Wind and unwind. And look at these following swings at the end here. He was hitting between 90 and 100 miles an hour on exit speed. Just absolutely phenomenal. And you can see there's this load, his unwind, and the hand, just enough time at the end for the hands to find the path, but he didn't even think about it. Look at the shoulders turned the whole time. Not that lunging and reaching ahead, just a phenomenal job of really focusing on the hips. And for him, it was 100% focus on the hips. Hit some balls 370, and out of the last 24 balls he hit, he missed it one ball is all, hitting line drives at will. Fabulous. Dig on a low pitch.
That was a little tougher.
Let's go for some home runs, okay?
Okay.
So on that one there, you came down this shoulder into it a little bit. You still rotated hard, but this one here, lower on it, and then keep your upper body back more so that your attack is more at an up angle.
Okay.
And wait for a high pitch across your chest. Nice shot.
Oh, I missed that one. Whoa! Went out, made it out, didn't it?
That's when you tell you have power, when the miss hits go out. Look at that. Wow. That's 370, man. You don't want to hit out of the park, just get a lower pitch.
Right.
Swing the same. Lower and rotate. Beautiful.
I'm not even thinking about my hands anymore. I'm just making sure that my
that my hips get through all the way, and trusting my hands.
Your timing then is when you lower and load on that rear hip. The lowering feels like the first motion in the swing, doesn't it?
Yes.
Lower on that, you kind of load on that, and everything else kind of goes natural, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you're trying to take it slow.
What'd you think of the DeMarini bats? Yeah, I know you're a Suncoast guy, and that's cool. Your buddy sells them, but you ever tried a DeMarini bat? You have Larry Carter here, and you've got a Balance. They're both 28s. What did you think of them?
These two bats right here are as hot as anything I've swung in senior bats, for sure.
The one thing about the DeMarinis are a premium senior bat made for performance. What weight are your Suncoasts?
My Suncoasts are 28-ounce bats.
Great product, a great company too.
I once felt sorry for a man that had no woman, till I saw a man with no DeMarini. Stay in loaded, my friends.